Good evening and welcome. Let's take a look at the top story that we are tracking for you this hour. Coming to you from Hong Kong, the media tycoon and pro-democracy activist Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 12 months in prison for his activism in one of the biggest anti-Beijing protests in 2019. His sentence comes under Beijing's sweeping national security law. Now, along with that, Lai has been charged with 2 more crimes, including foreign collusion and for trying to help the local activists to flee to Taiwan. Lai was found guilty in 2 separate trials for unauthorized assemblies. One took place on the 18th of August, while the other that took place on the 31st of August. The media tycoon initially received a 15-month sentence for the first gathering, which was later reduced by 3 months in mitigation, and an 8-month sentence for the second, of which he will serve 2 months. The August protests were hailed across the world as the biggest peaceful demonstrations. Thousands of people gathered in the streets of Hong Kong. They held placards calling for democracy amid heavy rainfall, earning the name the Umbrella Protests. In the hearing, District Court Judge Amanda Woodcock said that even though the 18th of August assembly was peaceful, there was a latent risk of possible violence, and that a deterrent sentence, as well as immediate imprisonment, was appropriate. Lai's repeated arrests have drawn criticism from Western governments and international rights groups. The authorities have raised concerns over the waning freedoms in Hong Kong. As the authorities continue to pursue a deluge of cases against the city's most high-profile dissidents, Barrister Martin Lee, who is widely known as the father of Hong Kong democracy, has been handed a suspended sentence. Now, the sentencing comes as a part of a series of trials relating to large-scale pro-democracy protests that rocked Hong Kong 2 years ago. Protests erupted across Hong Kong in 2019 in response to Beijing's tightening grip over Hong Kong. Some protests turned violent, and in 2020, when China introduced a controversial national security law in the territory, national security law criminalizes secession, subversion, and collusion with foreign forces, with the maximum sentence of life in prison. Beijing said that the law would target sedition and bring stability in the region. But ever since the law was enacted, around 100 people have been arrested, including Jimmy Lai. Earlier this month, the pro-democracy campaigners were held guilty of unlawful assembly. The defense team argued freedom of assembly is protected. Assembly in Hong Kong protests in the region, and in their defense, the defense team had argued that freedom of assembly is protected under Hong Kong's constitution and that authorities had approved the demonstration, which only then grew into the unauthorized march. Now, the prosecution, however, argued that freedom of assembly, while granted in the constitution, was not absolute in Hong Kong. Now we are going across to our correspondent Phoebe King, who is joining us from Hong Kong, the DW correspondent. Thanks for being with us. Now, what kind of reaction has the sentencing of the pro-democracy activist, which includes prominent names such as Jimmy Lai and Martin Lee, elicited in Hong Kong?
Yes, I have been staying in the courtroom throughout the day to hear the sentence. That I observed a very emotional reactions. Like after the sentencing, that inside the courtroom, many supporters chanted slogan to show solidarity with the jailed defendants. That in response, some of the defendants who were going to prison were expressed that they insisted that it's nothing to do with there's nothing criminal for them to organize or attend in a peaceful rally, despite without any permission from the police.